Thank you.
All right. You ready?
I read Wikipedia.
Okay, bring your game. Matt. Don't talk don't interrupt so much.
Oh my goodness. I am. Last week's show, I was so on.
All right. Here we go. Ready? 1.
What am I not on?
2, 3. Hey, everybody! Welcome to Youth Ministry Garage, episode 173.
Yes, sir.
Matt McGill, Katie Edwards, Josh Griffin, and my name is Douglas Montgomery Fields. We are powered by Youth Specialties, the corporate giant behind this Youth Ministry Garage.
Now we're in. Here we go.
Corporate conglomerate.
There you go. And we are subsidized by our less than powered by, but still very instrumental, influential, and we're thankful for
yes,
them.
They buy our drinks.
Remedy Live.
Not even that.
Not really.
Azusa Pacific University, Youth Ministry 360, and our friends Leader Tricks. Yes, they do. They give gifts at every episode. Thank you, Katie, for bringing that up.
You have stuff. You're prepped. You're locked and loaded.
I'm ready to go. We're going to give gifts. Here's the deal. When you write in a question to the Youth Ministry Garage, there is an opportunity for you to have your question read, and there is an opportunity for you to get a gift.
And there's an opportunity for us to make fun of your question in between, which is really cool.
That's also not an opportunity that's a given.
Also, 3 days a week.
Well played.
3 days a week, there is something on our blog. Questions from the community.
Yeah.
Gotta stop.
Wow. I was gonna say someone.
Questions from the community. Got to get put on the blog, and then people weigh in. And hey, speaking of weigh in,
I totally felt like you just doing that right there.
Yeah.
Last week's message, I was reading the scripture, and I felt like I burped, like not a big like on purpose, but just something like.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I'm like partway into the verse, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, that was rude. I mean, I just said something like to acknowledge it. And
yeah, that seems reasonable.
You know, but then afterwards, I went and said something to somebody on the team or whatever, and they're like, oh, we didn't even hear what did you burp or something? It didn't even sound like you did. So I totally could have just skipped.
I just could have motored right through.
All right, hey,
just like I could have motored right through that story.
I was going to say, let's pause and just grade that story on a 1 to 10. Josh, go.
2.3.
Okay, Katie?
Ooh, 3.5.
No way. And 1 being the greatest?
Here we go.
In
Hands
your
in.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I would be somewhere between the 2.3 because I love Matt more than you love him.
I get it. It's hard to be self-aware. That's my lesson.
But I'm definitely the most gracious with Matt.
That's right. All right.
So speaking of weigh-in. Most terrible segue ever.
Matt Porter from Northside Christian Church in Xenia.
No, it had nothing to do with
Ohio.
And it had everything to do with him burping.
Xenia.
Oh, I agree. I think he's going to make some reference to yours or mine.
Speaking of weight.
No, here's what he says. Okay, I want to discuss this because a couple weeks ago in the Atlanta National Youth Workers Convention, which is Youth Specialties Convention, I, along with other youth leaders, had to trek a half-mile walk to the Civic Center twice a day.
You're welcome.
Okay? And I looked around, saw how many of us are so out of shape, and well, let's say it, fat, myself included. What if YS started a contest in January for all youth leaders to find the biggest loser, lose the most weight according to percentage from January to June, and you awarded that youth leader with a free trip, all expenses paid, to the National Youth Workers Convention next year.
All expensive.
Here's what you do.
I would be so down with that, and I would think that the other youth workers would go for it too. Could you imagine how much more work we could get done for the kingdom if we were actually both healthy physically and spiritually? Anyway, had the idea, thought I would pass it on, Biggest Loser YS style.
What if you did lifetime admissions to YS conventions as long as you stay under your finishing weight? So you go from 300 to 2 1/4, and you win. Yeah, you win. As long as you stay under 2 1/4, you can go for the rest of your life.
I love it.
That would be awesome.
I love it.
What if you just get some discipline and do it because you want to?
Do it so you can see your kids graduate.
Do you know anybody like that?
You? Well, you go up and down. But when you go down, it's because you want to. It's not because of some fake content.
It's not because of some fad diet, because Doug would never do that. If I know one thing about DMF, he doesn't just get on fad diets all the time.
Now you're being hurtful.
So what do you want to do? You want to try that, Josh? You're always up for it.
January, I'm always up.
You're always up for a
What's
contest.
the admission? Where does it cut? Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm up for it. Don't we get into the conference for free anyhow?
Do we get the
Yeah.
Yeah, do I get to go?
Yeah,
Can I
but
win?
what if we did this? What if they don't beat you We ought to do something where there's
Yeah.
some like money involved for
already
you
done
It's
guys.
that.
called The Incredible Shrinking Man, and it is everyone against Matt and I, and all the proceeds
And you
go
and
to
I do
wherever.
to the goats.
Yeah, to the goats. Great idea.
Okay.
Oh, the goats. Remember
Well-
the goats, Katie? You
I
don't.
made a lot of money
Little bit.
during those shows.
A little bit. Did you watch the first show?
I watched the first one.
We didn't talk about the goats on the first show.
It's been a long time since
Yeah.
the goats.
All right.
It's
I think it has some potential. I don't know what to do.
It's an admission. I kind of want.
You gotta talk that over with your buddy Matlock.
Matlock already said, talk to the group. Whatever they want to do, I'll support it.
Whatever
'Cause he
they wanna
he
do.
wants to be a
Lifetime
part of it.
admission
He
to
wants
the-
to be a part of it. He wants to.
Does he need to drop a
He's
few
not that
LBs?
heavy.
Yeah. Hey, for a magician.
That's true. That's
Illusionist.
True. He just makes it disappear.
Illusionist.
That's right. Andrew Cooper says, Doug, in a recent episode you mentioned an online youth ministry certificate that you and others have developed. Where can I get information about it? Thanks, Andrew.
Oh, wow.
Youthsphere.tv.
Wow, how did that email get it through the filter?
Youthsphere.tv. Let
How
me
did
say
I
it
get through the
again.
crack filter?
Doug wrote into the
Youthsphere.tv.
show. How cool is that? Did anyone ask about more than
Lake
dodgeball.com?
California. Wow. I've got anything that says more than dodgeball.com goes into junk.
Oh gosh.
Used to go into the cha-ching folder, and now,
Yeah.
I need your blog.
Thank you. I have.
I
It's
do
been
too.
a mess. Yeah. I like it. It's fun.
Doing a good job of it.
I mean, it'll be the number 2, 3, 4 maybe this year in all of youth
You're
ministry.
pretty cocky.
So
You're pretty cocky.
no, I'm saying I'm going to be ousted by.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you were one last year.
I was number 1 last year, and
Way to go, dude.
I
That's
think
great.
I have helped. I think I'm raising up the next generation of bloggers.
Wow.
I got this
you
guy.
been to a
I'm
staff
really
meeting
excited.
lately?
I'm really excited about his talent. He's an up and comer. His name is
Seasoned.
Seasoned. He's a veteran, but DougFields.com.
Oh.
I think it's got the potential to be something.
Mark McLean from Phoenix, Arizona says, when student
payoff
leadership,
is love.
what student leadership materials do you or would you use? I give them all a copy of Help, I'm a Student Leader.
Oh, way to go.
Insert
Cha-ching.
your shameless plug here, Doug.
That's all right.
There's no shameless plug, DougFields.com.
They're all without. They're all
Available,
without shame.
cheaper than any place you can get them in the world.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Mark, excellent decision to do that. I've also used Leadership 360 from LeaderTrex in the past, one of our sponsors.
man.
But looking for something new or different. Just need some new ideas of what you guys like. Are you using anything student leadership right now?
We're not doing student leadership.
What about that incredible conference that you took your kids to this summer?
Oh, that you were giving me a softball, weren't you?
No.
Yeah,
no.
it felt like a youth sphere at least. I don't know what
That's for adult leaders.
Yeah.
It felt like a youth sphere. No.
Wow.
What about it?
This is a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good resource.
It was super great.
Yeah.
It was
Title of
super
this
great.
episode: Shameless.
Shameless plugs.
Shameless plugs.
We're all saved by grace, so that's where shame. We have no shame in
That's
grace.
right.
Amen.
So DougFields.com/SLC 2012. I don't know, but I appreciate it as a friend.
We were gonna maybe do the one. We were gonna maybe do the next one at
I
Marriage Group,
appreciate
and now
your,
we're not. So I
your
don't think I should
friendship and your
promote it.
support of.
It's been a good run.
conference.
173
Oh, here's the
shows.
second meatball pitch. Did everybody at this table go to this conference? What about the guy with the largest youth ministry in America?
I don't know. He wasn't there. Neither were I.
Neither was I.
Good job, Betty.
Neither were I. So-
What is
Hey,
going on?
you might
Anyway,
want to say
student leadership resources. You got any?
No,
Yeah.
we're gutting the whole thing, so don't look at us.
Okay, Katie. Okay, here's what we're gonna do.
I do have a project that I think the three of us can work on, which you would be happy to. I just
That would be
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this guy some stuff from from LeaderTrex. LeaderTrex
Love it.
is going to send him some stuff. We ready to start the show?
Put your hands in, guys. We're gonna do this thing.
All right, here's a. Let's
we
go to
read a
this.
real email?
Those are all real.
No,
I see real names.
Those
I
are
mean, so
made
far
up.
we're not living up to our monogram, either one. It's not just enough youth ministry, so you don't feel guilty for listening.
we got plenty
and
of
we are
time.
not turning opinions into wisdom.
We have plenty of time.
When did that become?
Alex Garrod, Goldendale, Washington.
Here we go, real quick.
I was in our morning service and had a youth girl approach me with a prayer need.
A youth girl.
Her mom has been living with a man that is a drunk and decided to break off the relationship and kick the guy out of their house. Her mom has a history of cutting and has returned to this since the breakup. I've had very little contact with the mom. She doesn't go to church. I prayed with the girl, but I guess the question I have is, what would you do with this information? I've dealt with many teens who have needed help and freedom from cutting, and help them as much as I could, but how do I go with the mom? Do I continue to check with the girl? Thanks for the help. I have loved having you all back in my life. Alex, good question.
Well, that is heartbreaking. Well, I mean, I think that the first place my mind goes to is the girl safe? I mean, she you didn't mention abuse, so she probably is safe. I mean, but that's to me a baseline to start. You know, is she physically safe? So that's the first thing my mind goes to. But I think if there's a way for you to reach out in this time and maybe not reveal all sorts of information like, hey, I know you're cutting, but can I help you? But hey, I know life is tough, or you know, your daughter's told me I'm praying for you guys. If there's anything we could do, or even if you could be so forward. And I don't know. It's hard to answer a question like this with so little details, but to say, if you could be so forward as to say, hey, here's a few different people you could talk to, or here's some, you know, if you want to talk to one of the pastors in our church or something like that, you know, if it works, if it's right, if it's not too offensive or too, you know, you said you have a little bit of contact with mom, so it seems like you'd have a little bit of a bridge to be able to do that and not, you know, totally offend and close them off, but...
Well, what if you just say something like you're opening with, hey, I know this is tough on families, and what if you could say, hey, I've got a few resources, a few things that maybe you can check out. Any of these things on the table look like something that would help your family, and don't even say it's for her or for her daughter or for the... Just say all this stuff. I've seen it all before, and this is a tough time, so here's some things that might help. I want to let you know I'm available, and so maybe she'll pick up something for her kid or whatever and be helpful for her.
And I think, like, you know, you can only focus on what, obviously, I mean, this goes without saying, but you can only focus on what you can do. And so, I mean, I think if your ministry does a full court press on this girl to be checking in with her every week, every couple weeks, and which is probably happening. I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, insult the way you do ministry, but that's also too. I mean, that's you have an inroad with her to let, you know, you want to communicate this is not an appropriate lifestyle in a way without offering, you know, advice and platitude and stuff like that. Hey, I hope you're doing good, you know, don't cut, you know, not something that's so trite like that, but you have this sheep that's she's in your flock. That's the person that you could take care of as best you can. You might not ever be able to do anything with the mom, as heartbreaking as that is.
I think this is definitely an opportunity to be the church to this mom, though. You know, I think reaching out and trying to have some conversation. I mean, obviously, you want to not sell the girl out if she's told you things in confidence, but I think people in pain are looking sometimes for people to reach out for them, and they don't necessarily always know what they need, and it's a great opportunity for the church to wrap their arms around this family. And so, you know, I think take a risk and reach out to the mom and have a conversation. I think that's a good thing. You know, it doesn't have to be advice. It doesn't have to be, here's how we're going to fix you. It doesn't have to be anything like that. It can just be, hey, we love your daughter. We want to be here for you. We want to love on you.
One of the things that I think we can be great at as youth workers is oftentimes connecting dots and brokering relationships. So you might know somebody in the youth ministry who either is that girl's friend's mom that you might pull alongside and say, hey, could you check in with so-and-so's mom and see how she's doing, and just come alongside. And maybe there are some opportunities for you to broker some relationships of even care. So hearing what all you guys have said, I think is great. Hey, I'm also going to send Alex, I'm going to have You Specialties send him just some of the resources that they have on cutting.
Cool,
you know, I know Mark Penner's written a book. I was just going to say, Marv's book on cutting is probably the authority, Yeah. I don't know how many are out there, but that's one of them. So we'll have You Specialties send that to you. Josh, this might be for you. I don't know. Kyle Reed from Shawnee, Kansas. We're trying to teach our students the importance of praying over others.
It was either that or homeschool.
I know. I was like, where's the punchline?
Any advice on how to teach the importance of it, and then how to teach them in a way how to do it that doesn't lose them?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't really have a whole lot to offer that off the cuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. You know what? And for those that part of the joke was we've been teasing Josh. Do you even know this, Katie?
You might not.
Have you gone back to episode 1 yet?
Yeah.
I watched the first episode.
Josh talked one time about praying that him and his wife lay down on things. So if they're praying for a new car, they'll lay on a car.
No,
if they're praying,
that's an exaggeration.
I had her. I totally had her.
Just
No,
last week you were making fun of Bev.
They lay out over on things. They just lay on things.
Yeah.
Like to move out here,
why we
they
have
had a
4
big
kids,
list of pros and cons. Do we come out here or whatever? And they put that on the ground and they prayed on it, and that was just.
I made a
great.
I made a big decision, a huge leadership decision, and we laid on the ground and prayed over it. We bought a new car last week or whatever, and it's a symbol of humility. They're making it into a much bigger deal than it is. But
you can't include me.
Douglas and friends.
Matt would never make fun of you.
Whoa.
Here,
Hey, Kyle.
I would say it has to be modeled. To be totally honest.
That's it. And how great would it be? What if every week you ask kids in different relations? Like, for example, my small group, I had a kid text me, I can't be there. Have the guys pray for me. I'm struggling with sexual temptation. So I text him back.
That's cool.
And did I share this a few weeks ago?
With me. I don't know if it was a
you
show?
did.
We talked about
Yeah,
that.
and he said I'd be happy. Yeah, of course I want those guys to know. But so what happens if the guy comes in the next week and we say, you know what? Let's just circle around and we're gonna pray for him.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we model it, and you model it in your Sunday school, in your youth group, that type of thing. Talk about the importance of them, help them understand where it comes from and why it is important.
Well, and a small group leader that follows up the week after saying, hey, here's the stuff we prayed for last week. How's it going? And they even have a prayer journal together.
Sure.
And they kind of walk through a year of that together. You're going to be a different person that prays by the end of that year.
Not being afraid to pray in the moment, because for me, sometimes I forget. So, like, if a student comes up to me and is like, can you pray for me, class? I'm like, yeah, let's pray right now.
Yeah.
So not being afraid to pray in the middle of maybe some chaos every once in a while, or...
I prayed on the phone with a dad this past week. He called and was just kind of like, here's what's going on with my son, and blah, 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 blah. And I know the dad really well. His wife is a small group leader and all that. And I just, at the end of it, I was like, you know what? We need to pray about this. And you could sense, like, he was, like, wanting to ask for that almost. And so it was a cool... I think it can be modeled well.
That's good. Eric Swan from Murfreesboro. Katie, dig in.
Murfreesboro,
Tennessee. Hey guys, thank you so much for your ministry to me weekly. Youth ministry is often a thankless job that can be tiring and depleting, but you guys often remind me of why I do what I do. Your love for students and ministry to youth ministers everywhere is greatly needed and appreciated. Is it youthsphere.tv? Or no, I'm just kidding.
On behalf of the team, I just like to say,
my question is this. A couple of weeks ago, episode 169, so for us, that was
not like a month
4 episodes ago.
It's like back around Thanksgiving.
During a conversation about church hopping, McGill's quote-unquote wisdom convicted me.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
why do you have
boy.
to put quote-unquote around it?
He did. I'm just
read it and wait.
Just saying.
Because it's rare, I think. I don't know. He mentioned that being concerned with church hoppers kind of makes us a contributor to the consumerism problem.
Sounds good.
He then said that if the heart isn't just attendance or involvement, but seeing the student grow in their walk with Christ. What are some of the ways that you see that happening? I can meet with and disciple a few students, and so can some of my volunteers. But is that even enough to assure that growth is taking place? I know that their growth is ultimately the job of that student and the Holy Spirit, but what can you do to better usher that student along in their walk with Christ? Thanks again for the challenging, fun, and edifying time you provide each week.
Well, I think in the context of that conversation, that having a heart that wants to see a kid grow spiritually, just having that attitude impact your attitude towards church hopping, that's what would take you leaps and bounds. That's what releases the insecurity of people leaving. That's what releases, I think, the territorialism. I don't even know if that's a word, but being protectionist of what's happening. So I think that's if I remember right when we talked about it before, that's kind of what I was talking about. But as far as how do you spiritually disciple somebody, I mean, that seems to be the question, how do you make sure someone's growing spiritually? Well, that's a huge question. I mean, there's 100 ways to answer that. I mean, that's where we are all a part of, is this idea, what does the Bible say? What does it mean to be a believer, and how do you balance that out and make sure you're expressing all those things? And do you, whether we call it the biblical purposes or whatever, is that how do you balance those in your ministry? How do you have an intentional process for people to grow, that, hey, you do this, and then here's the next thing, and here's the next thing. Not that the process is so defined and so rigid that everybody has to follow that, but that you at least have something. You got to have a process. Even for those that are rebel, they have something to rebel against. If you've got nothing and it's just free for all, well, you have to have some kind of intentionality. And those are two very general answers, but I think that's where it starts, is that you have an idea that well, this is what it means to be a Christian. And you answer that question yourself, is, obviously based on Scripture and conviction. But, here's what it means, and so here's how our ministry is going to try and foster that and develop in students A, B, C, D, or whatever. So, I think it's a really broad question, and I'm just doing a little bit touching and then, trying to keep that quiet. So I'm not sure that's even really helpful at all. But that's my first take.
Well, it's difficult, because even if somebody was to listen to that advice and follow it, just because somebody goes through that process doesn't make them a disciple. That's where, and he's got it right. It's the student and the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. Spiritual transformation is such an inner deal. But there are obviously some habits that help move toward that. There's some decisions. There's some spiritual growth opportunities, i.e. camps or praise and worship nights. Different things like that trigger or prompt movement and transformation. I think part of it is just as leaders that we have a language where we encourage and almost expect transformation. Help kids kind of understand, this is what the transforming work of the Holy Spirit does in your life. You would respond like this, or you could not. You would respond. I don't want kids to feel like, right. Okay, it's always like WWJD, but there is something about the fruit of the Spirit that is seen.
Are you making fun of WWJD?
I'm making fun of WWJD in the fact that if we get kids to think that I've just got to obey these certain behaviors, that I think spiritual maturity, transformation, fruit of the Spirit, it's different to quantify in how we tend to quantify it in youth ministry. We quantify everything on attendance. So we base everything, whether, even we got this many kids in small groups. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that those kids are growing spiritually. It just means we've done a good job promoting small groups and getting kids into small groups. Spiritual growth is just difficult to quantify numerically.
Yeah, it's always a fine, and we had a lot of discussions of this when you did Refuel and What Matters Most. I feel like, not that we broke new ground, but just as friends and going through that, to say that to help somebody grow spiritually, it takes relationship, it takes information, Bible knowledge and information, and not facts like, this date and that date, but it takes a communication of information, and there is relationship, there is commitment. But the thing is, this is that you offer a practical thing to somebody. You cannot help somebody else grow without offering a practical step. Hey, if you want to grow spiritually, you ought to pray. And even if you just leave it right there, you ought to pray. You don't put a number on it or a days or a length or anything like that. Well, anytime you're practical, that can be turned around and be turned into something that's pharisaical. Everything that is a practice in the Christian faith can become fake and pharisaical. So then do you pull back and not offer anything practical and just will always be, and just you experience God, and there's no truth really? You can't do that either, because you're never encouraging or pushing anybody to grow. And so it's hard. It's always a tension, because you want to be practical and helpful. You want to teach students to obey Jesus, but when you
Dude, I meant to tell you last week you were tapping a lot.
I know. But anyhow, it's tough. It's impossible. And to me, the last time we recorded a podcast, we talked about programming, getting into a programming rut, and like how do you break that creativity? And that's there. You program, you want to be great, you don't want to fall asleep at your program, your own program that you're running. That was a question. Well, that same question exists with discipleship. As you're discipling kids and as you're trying to help them take steps, and it's not just the top of the funnel or the really fun event, but it's also step closer to Jesus. You're always going to have seasons or return to seasons of, is this even working? Am I making a difference? Are they growing? Are they picking anything up? So this question you'll never,
well, I think it's tough too to measure growth collectively. It's such an individual thing. I think it's hard to look at your ministry as a whole and say, are my kids growing, or is this happening? I think you have to look at, what is this student's journey right here, and what is this student's journey right here, and because all the students are just in such a different place in their own journey. So I think it's hard to think about growth in your ministry as a whole when it comes to just this particular area, because it's so individual, so personal.
Yeah. Well, and I know I've said a lot on this. Discipleship, this part I'm excited about ministry. And where I'm at now, Mariners, they really value sharing and telling stories, which I love, which I think is great. We've done it every month at our staff meeting with volunteers to say, hey, where's God working? What's going good? So I love telling stories. But the problem of measuring spiritual growth with stories is that you can always find you can always find a case study that says, oh yeah, look at all this growth that's happening, look at this one little thing. So the individual thing is there, the relationships thing is there, but even that is tough.
Sure.
Because you just can't, you can't take away free will.
You want to add? Are you okay?
No, I'm fine.
It's an interesting one because, as we said, discipleship is inner transformation, and it's difficult to measure programmatically, numerically. But there are times, we all believe that we grow spiritually in the context of relationship. That I'm a stronger and better and more committed Christ follower because of all of you guys. That we've done life together, we've rubbed shoulders together, we've been wounded together, we've battled together. Yeah. That the Holy Spirit in you brings out something in me. That we do believe that we grow in the context of relationship. So that's why we believe in small groups and volunteers and getting kids connected with one another. But it's just hard to measure inner transformation. I think you as youth workers, we can point out behaviors and decisions that are more Christ-like. Mm-hmm. That it's one thing to affirm the kids in your small group or your ministry. They do have the mind of Christ. Whether we actualize it or not is another thing. As Christ followers, but to say, that was really a Christ-like response, or I love the way that you greeted that loner, and that was that's something Jesus would do. That you help kids begin to see that some of their behaviors and decisions are part of that sanctification process. Anyway, this is just talking about what does it look to disciple teenagers is a rough thing. Typically, old school is as long as they go to a Sunday school class, we think they're being discipled.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah, and there's definitely that pressure.
I would say parents, the few parents that I've talked to most recently have wanted one-on-one mentoring with their kid. So I like small groups. I love youth group. I love all those environments that we can create, even the camp environment, all those things. I think they're great. But it's very difficult to find no matter, regardless of your size, youth ministry, a one-on-one mentoring program that scales, because it's always one-to-one. So you need 30 volunteers for 30 kids instead of maybe 5 or 6 or small group leaders. So I don't know that it's realistic, but I'd sure love it.
Not everyone's cut out to be a one-on-one mentor.
Totally.
That's
what they want. But I think that you can have one-on-one mentoring in the context of a small group. Our best life group leaders, I'm thinking of this one guy's name is Terry. He is phenomenal, and he knows his guys so well. He's mentoring each of them one-on-one. Now, they all gather together once a week too to do Bible study or whatever. But I think it can happen and should happen and has to happen. I want my students to have it caught and taught in the home. So I want to help the home as a youth ministry. I want those students to be mentored and cared for in the context of a group, but also one-on-one. And I also want the youth group to create a positive momentum and positive peer pressure that says this is how you grow, and this is how you serve, and this is how you worship, and this is. So I think they all have their place, but I think it does start with mom and dad. If spiritual growth is not,
and if it hasn't started by the time they're in high school.
Exactly.
You're good.
Well, let's do this. To Eric Swan, we are going to send you some curriculum from Youth Ministry 360. The pause, learning to seek
this was
God.
a tap during a point only underscores what's happening.
It's just a lot of noise.
Yeah, it's good noise though.
You should put
Wait, that airplane
The
flying up
least,
first? No.
the least of these, that's a good idea. The least of these, God, Poverty, and You, and from Youth Ministry 360, Vivid, 6 lesson study on the book of James. So, Eric, we're going to send all those to you from Youth Ministry 360. And then the student leader one, I forgot to say, from Leader Treks, whoever won that, we're going to send him Doug Franklin's book called Leading Youth Ministry.
Nice.
An interactive resource to help youth workers grow in leadership.
Haven't read it. Any chance we can get a copy for ourselves?
Yeah, probably.
I think I'd like a code to Youth Sphere for my team. What do you think about that?
I think that's totally legitimate. I can get you a discount.
100% discount.
I know the people. I know some people.
Is Youth Sphere off the ground? Is it rolling? Is it going?
It is
Or close?
almost.
Soft launching?
I think. Yeah, it's been promoted, but
Let me check it.
no, don't. Matt, no, come on.
It's the boring part anyhow. You're trying to.
Okay, you gonna be focused?
I'm always focused.
Yeah, it's gonna be like ready to go January.
Okay, so right around the corner.
Let me tell you if
Good
Meredith
timing,
was
top of the
set it
year.
Top of the year. All right.
up. Top of the morning to you.
Yeah.
This is from Daniel Duncan. And Daniel, just having the name Daniel Duncan, it makes me think of Seth, our executive producer, which makes me think of Remedy, which makes me think they're going to give you free stuff.
Why does that? What?
Done.
No, I just forgot last week. I forgot to give away Remedy
Some
stuff.
from Remedy?
Yeah.
Oh.
They have like shirts and
Yeah.
jump drives. What do we call them?
Love it.
You don't call them
Flash drives?
Thumb drives, flash drives.
Flash thumb jump.
Yeah.
That's right. Have you played Modern Warfare 3 yet?
Nope.
Oh, dude. Halfway through. 3 more hours tonight. When it's done.
It is
I gotta get it back to Redbox. That thing's costing me $2 a day.
$2
Wow.
a day.
I know.
Wow. All right, here's what
promo
Daniel
code.
Duncan says. Daniel Duncan says, I have been in youth ministry for 10 years now. I've had the privilege of serving in 4 churches. After being burned out in my second and third church, my wife and I came to serve in my father-in-law's church, where he is the pastor. After about 8 months, the church voted to bring me on staff. I spent the first 3 years bivocational, and the last year full-time, so I only make $300 a week. I recently found out my wife is pregnant with our first child in 6.5 years of marriage, and this has caused me to re-examine our current ministry situation. For the most part, okay, so we tracking?
$300 a week?
Yeah, so $1,200 a month,
Okay.
14 grand.
So right at the poverty level.
Yeah.
So most youth pastors in America, right there.
Okay, for most part, my current ministry has been
started.
great and has grown from 2 students, 20 to 30, in a town of 500. We recently finished a building program, and the youth ministry took over the old sanctuary, making room for new opportunities. While youth ministry is going well, there's been growing tension between my father-in-law, pastor, for some time. On top of my youth ministry responsibilities, I also coordinate all of our media, including our Sunday morning media shout, video, editing, uploading of sermons, as well as shooting, editing, and uploading daily video devotionals for the days of the week.
Daily video devotionals?
Maintaining a website and Facebook page for both the church and the student ministry. Not to sound cliche, but I feel overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. My father-in-law has pushed me to do music recording on the side to make additional money. While this does make me more money,
church.
While it does make me more money, it makes me busier than I want to be. With a baby now on the way, it makes me wonder if I can afford emotionally, physically, spiritually, and monetarily to keep doing what I'm doing. I feel like I do not have much margin in my life right now, and I don't know what to do. Please help.
Hey, Grandpa, do you want my kid to hate me as much as your kids hate you? That's how the conversation starts.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay, but I
Something
mean,
softer.
Okay, I don't think that's-
overwhelmed, out of control.
I don't think that's all of that uncommon. Underpaid?
I mean, stop.
That is an extreme. It's
kidding.
It's an extreme, but I don't
Just
think.
kidding.
Definitely the multiple responsibilities thing. I mean, I think that's
Yes.
super common.
If you're a youth
Yeah.
worker in a smaller church, you are an associate pastor. There's just no getting around
Or
it.
the tech dude.
And, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're the tech dude. Pastor has to do a funeral. You're the guy pushing record on the video camera or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
So
know
what are
that
you
he
saying
needs
to him?
do a
Suck it up?
daily video.
I'm saying it's part of life. You need to have a reorienting conversation in a hurry.
Well, I think anytime you change, I mean, obviously you're going to have a big life stage change, you know, with a baby on the way. And so that is a natural time to reevaluate just life in general. You know,
Or
like,
just bring the baby over without any clothes on. Oh, he can't afford
couldn't
it.
afford it.
Oh,
I made this
baby's a little
diaper.
emaciated, huh? Maybe you can kick him for some food.
yeah, it's hard to know with no backstory or know what conversations have happened. You know, like there's not that context of have you already talked to him?
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah,
ever told
yeah.
him that you're
It sounds
overwhelmed?
like,
You know?
I mean, it sounds a little bit, and this could be going on a limb, and I shouldn't say this, but
Here it
Watch out.
comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's never stopped you before.
Okay, I went through the
Wait,
filter the
did
third
you
time.
forget?
No, I just was filtering
Dropped the
3
ball.
times, just making sure. But I mean, it sounds like you're being taken advantage of. That's a nice way to put that.
That was.
Wow,
job,
where
buddy.
did that come
So you
from?
got-
Sounds like you're a pushover, is what I'm saying. Maybe, and I don't mean that. We don't
Now
know
we're
the
back.
whole story.
Here we go.
I just felt
Keep
like
coming.
I wasn't really saying the truth. But, I mean, and obviously, it's a little funny because I don't really know what's happening. But there is some truth there. There is some truth that you might be a people pleaser like a couple people at this
Absolutely.
table. And you just, yeah. I mean, you just got to stand up for yourself, especially now that you got a kid is coming, you know.
Well, the birth of the baby, especially with the father-in-law and the mother-in-law, and this brings, Katie, you said it right. It brings about the time to. It's almost like let's renegotiate, let's renew, let's rethink.
leverage.
You know,
Broker relationships,
Yeah.
whatever.
but
you know,
I don't
hey.
think I would disagree with Josh in that. I don't think this is like suck it up part of the job. I think
Did he say suck it up?
Ah, a little too strong.
You did say that?
He paraphrased what I said. My sensitive caring thing by, hey, suck it up, buddy.
well, I think you're saying we could go back and listen to what you said
Oh,
because I think you pretty much said that's what a lot
I'm
of youth
saying
workers
it's
have
not
to do.
uncommon.
I don't think we could go back because the red light's on.
And it's time for a hard conversation.
Watching it.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying
Yeah.
there are no perfect youth ministry jobs out there. So if
Right.
you're looking for the perfect place, it doesn't exist.
Saddleback
Are
is the
you
perfect place.
I guarantee you it's not. Are you in a tough spot? Do you need to have a conversation? Yes. Is this a good opportunity? Absolutely. Are you a little bit of a pushover? Sure. We all are. Part of life.
We
Are you a little
all-
bit of a people pleaser? We all are. So
We all are.
You are too.
I'm a little bit more than I used to be.
You are.
I am. And you know what? Call
But
it
this
sensitivity.
this is a great moment. This is a great moment.
Now it's equality.
Yeah. I would say
It's
this is a
amazing how that
character.
works.
If you're looking for an out, this is a good time to say, hey, if we can't get to this X, Y, and Z, I'm having it, and I need to find the next
Yeah.
place. I need to change.
Well, not
Rick is
all
hiring. Maybe
not
Rick
all
will hire you.
family
I am
relationships work in the church, and a lot of them
that's tough.
a lot of them do it though. A lot of them hire their kids or their son-in-law or daughter-in-law
I
and that
got
type
my
of
best
thing.
friend's daughter on the team, and that's really hard.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Oh.
I think you immediately. Oh, a little tender now.
Full sensitivity
What does the
coming
8 ball
out
say?
there.
Is that true or not? That's
I just don't like it because I always
Certainly.
question whether or not they should be there because he's related to the senior pastor. So
Yeah,
of course
I
he's
just
got
think
a
it
job.
creates
Just-
funky issues
Yeah.
It can be tough.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law's on staff,
just because I'm paranoid
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
mean
a good
people are
thing.
after me.
but there's some distance between us.
I'm just saying.
Just because they're related doesn't mean it's nepotism.
I would say it's time for a change. Get out. There you go. You. That's why he wrote. He wanted someone to say
that's
that.
right.
I think
That's
we
right.
need to
So
get going.
Okay.
Katie's got places to go.
Okay. I know we were a little
You are a little
short.
fancy.
I'm learning how to put people under the bus. Come on.
Okay.
How great is that?
Does that mean Misha's been texting? You gotta go.
Probably.
Okay.
Here, we're almost done.
Christmas party.
One more question.
Christmas party today?
There we go.
Oh, I just got a text. ETA.
Oh.
15, 20
Just say
minutes
when
ago.
we're done. Woman?
Just because that's the way you talk to Kat.
Don't say
doesn't
that.
It's not.
I thought we were getting our phones all out. No? Okay.
Okay, we gotta end this thing.
And we're just getting started.
Between your cackle and Katie's soft voice, we're killing people right now.
They're turning it up.
We're gonna put the mic over here.
I am here.
I know, but you have a
don't
different
touch this. You're not on the
you have a
radio
different
voice.
tone.
You're not on the tech team. Don't touch this.
Well, it's hard to get
Hi,
out
everybody.
on the go. It's really hard.
I know it's
Matt
hard.
is dominating.
Okay, are we
Wiser,
done?
too.
No, one more.
One more.
Okay.
Two more. I would say
Jiminy
two more.
Jims.
What is that?
It's a Christmas swear
What's
word.
a Jiminy
I think.
Jim?
I thought me and Josh were hanging out afterwards.
Well,
Apparently not.
nope.
Apparently no Christmas
Not when we
cheer.
finish 4 hours past it.
All right, here we go. What do you got?
All right.
Are we out?
We got one more question.
Eric
Someone
Smith.
prep this thing?
Hatfield, Pennsylvania.
I'm gonna gently put my hands down.
I have an issue in my church's primary vehicle for discipleship. It's
Quit.
what we call. We're done. We're done.
No,
We're done.
Primary vehicle.
I
Come
think,
on!
I think we're done.
We wouldn't do it justice.
Doug.
We're done.
No, it was just a bit.
No, that's
need a
okay.
lighthearted
I'm
question.
not mad. I'm just thinking we just.
Oh, yeah.
We're not gonna answer the question.
Let's make that question one of the
We've
on-the-line
gone
questions.
over the
On the
question.
line?
Let's talk about morethandodgeball.com. Let's just end with plugs. Go ahead. How's your
Shameless.
blog? It should be.
Go to
It's
More Than
number
Dodgeball.
1. It will probably be number in the top 10. So
Hopefully it'll land this year in the top 10. Go to morethandodgeball.com. I write there every day about youth ministry. And my sister blog,
He was joking, by the way.
DougFields.com.
I thought I was your sister, Bob.
And my sister's
you're the,
blog.
I'm the
you're
ugly
you're the ugly cousin.
I'm the black sheep.
Cousin
My, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, substance-
lovegodlovestudents.com.
Yeah. If you're looking for McDonald's,
Here's what we should do. Let's take this podcast, episode 173, and merge it with the half one that we did in 170, and we'll make
super show.
one. And if this is your first time to watch a Youth Ministry Garage podcast,
this was excellent. What are you talking
We had
about?
some good
Don't
conversations.
apologize for this.
No.
Except for the droning on.
except for the
strong.
close, I
We
liked
started
it.
strong. It was good.
We did start
It
strong.
was good. Good
Okay.
conversation. Discipleship.
I don't know.
We
I'm on the
ended.
fence.
We ended in fun.
We told that guy to quit. This is a good one.
seriously.
He wanted that. I gave it to him.
Father-in-law.
All right, bring it back
my
in.
goodness.
Let's end. Come on.
Here we go.
All right.
Okay.
Love you
Theme of
guys.
the show.
Yay!
Get a backbone.